welcome to World News at 4. I am Richard Badung. First, the headlines. On the headline, President Buhari approves relaxation of COVID-19 safety measures. Still on the headlines, France removes barriers on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. On African scene, Museveni accuses Europe of hypocrisy on its climate and energy policy. While on sport, World Cup referee sent home by FIFA. Now on the news in detail. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the immediate relaxation of COVID-19 safety measures and travel advisory. The approval came following the recommendations of the Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19, that is PSC, based on clinical and laboratory evidence on sustained reduction in COVID-19 infection transmission across the country. The Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19 also recommended that a simplified health declaration that is non-COVID-19 specific shall be completed by all passengers arriving in Nigeria on the Nigeria International Travel Portal, that is NITP, while provision will be made on arrival for those who were unable to complete this form before departure. Federal government has approved the boarding and entrance of Nigerians abroad with an expired international passport into the country. This was contained in a letter by the Special Assistant to the Comptroller General, Immigration Service, Musa Lawal, on behalf of the Comptroller General of Immigration Service. The letter entitled Authority to Board Audit Nigerians with Expired Nigeria Passports was copied to all head of mission, immigration attaches, airport controllers and airlines. According to the letter, all airlines are requested to allow holders of expired Nigerian passports to board without let or hindrance. Still talking local matters, Federal Ministry of Works on Monday removed barriers on Section 1 of the ongoing Lagos-Ibadan Express project. The ministry apparently took the action to facilitate better flow of vehicular traffic, according to reports. Reports further stated that workmen used heavy-duty equipment to remove crash barriers and other diversion points for free flow of traffic on the OPIC U-turn section of the highway. The removal is a relief for motorists plying the axis, while sometimes spend 4 to 5 hours in gridlock due to the ongoing construction. Supervising the reopening around OPIC Director of Federal Highways for Southwest, Adedamola Kuti, said the federal government earlier promised to reopen the highway to traffic on Kuti. As Kuti further said, because of all the traffic which spans Ojota in Lagos to Shagamu interchange, we are being removed on Monday. We apologize for that mix-up there. Kuti further explained that all construction would also be halted on Section 2 of the project, which spans Shagamu. Ogun State Police Commissioner Larry Bankole assured all those plying the road of tight security on the highway.
The opening of the barriers today will no doubt reduce the travel time, leading to elimination of the gridlocks that have been prevalent in the last couple of months. That in itself will ameliorate the security situation along this corridor. We will continue to ensure safety of lives and property, not only on this corridor but the whole of Ogun State. My appeal, just like my colleagues have said, to the motoring public is for them to abide by rules of traffic.
Away from that story now to security matters, where suspected hoodlums have unleashed a spate of violent attacks on the Independent National Electoral Commission building in Owerri, Imo State, and the People's Democratic Party campaign office in Gombe State, raising the two facilities and further heightening anxiety about the conduct of the 2023 general elections. This was even as the Nigerian Air Force bombed terrorist hideouts in the 3 local government areas of Birnin Gwari, Igabi and Chikun of Kaduna State, killing scores of the hoodlums. Operation was launched and aimed at clearing the areas of the criminals ahead of the forthcoming polls. During the Monday assault on the INEC office, the police killed 3 of the attackers, which 1 police officer died and another one sustained injuries. According to newsmen, it was reported that it was the third attack on the Commission's facilities in the state in less than 2 weeks. Reacting to the developments, Governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodimma, declared that the developments proved that the insecurity in the state was politically contrived. Apologize for that mix-up once again. We now move away from local stories down to other stories from other parts of West Africa. Still on news on the world now at 4. Now to Africa. Uganda's veteran president, Yoweri Museveni, has accused Europe on Wednesday of raising double standards towards Africa in its climate and energy policies. He lashed out at Europe's return to coal-fired power plants in the face of the energy crisis triggered by the war in Ukraine, while at the same time telling African nations not to use fossil oils. Museveni's comments follow warnings from African leaders at COP27 about the damage climate change is already wreaking on the continent. Earlier this year, France and China's National Offshore Oil Corporation signed a $10 billion agreement to develop Ugandan oil fields and ship the crude through a 1,445-kilometer, that is 900-mile pipeline to a Tanzanian port on the Indian Ocean. The project, which includes drilling in Murchison Falls, Uganda's largest national park, has run into strong opposition from activists and environmental groups that say it threatens the region's fragile ecosystem and the livelihoods of tens of thousands of people. The European Parliament in September adopted a resolution calling for the project to be delayed over rights violations infuriating Kampala. Still in Africa, Kenya has celebrated 59 years of independence from British colony on Monday, December 12, 2022. Kenya's fifth president, William Ruto, paid homage to those who helped free Kenya from British colonialism nearly 6 decades ago as heroic defenders of the country's sovereignty. Speaking in Nairobi, Ruto said independence brought many achievements and much progress to the country.
Who were long-suffering innocent victims of imperial plunder and colonial oppression, yet also heroic defenders of our inalienable sovereignty and valiant fighters of our freedom.
He therefore stated that he is proud of Kenya's consistent record of leadership to advance the cause of peace, cohesion, security, and stability in the region. We move to other parts of the world after this break. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us and welcome back. Still on the world now at 4, news coming from other parts of the world says children in Senegal's Quranic schools face multiple abuses as well as financial exploitation through forced begging. Amnesty International charged Monday as it urged Dakar to act forcefully to protect students. In a Muslim-majority nation where religious leaders wield wide social and political influence, poor children have long been entrusted to Quranic schools. Amnesty said forced begging amounted to trafficking involving teachers and students, not just from inside Senegal, but also from neighboring countries such as Gambia and Guinea-Bissau. According to newsmen, Senegal has passed its own laws and signed international conventions to protect children, but these regulations fail to be properly enforced due to social pressure, which a new draft law on the status of the Dara that aims to incorporate the Quranic schools into the national education system faces tough opposition from some Quranic teachers who view it as an anti-Islamic attack, according to Saidi Gassama, who is an executive director of Amnesty International Senegal Action. Senegalese president reacting to this, Macky Sall held a meeting with influential Quranic teachers last month, where some urged the release of dozens of colleagues jailed over claims they had abused students. A French tourist has died from head injuries, and her husband was hospitalized after being attacked by an unstable man near Rabat. A hospital official and Moroccan authorities, which the reason for the attack, which comes 48 hours before the semi-final of the World Cup between Morocco and France. According to the local authorities, the unstable man attacked the couple with a stone. The suspected mentally imbalanced man was arrested and taken into custody by the local gendarmerie. An investigation is underway under the supervision of the public prosecutor. The Moroccan justice system ruled out terrorism, concluding that the murderer was not criminally responsible because of mental disorders and ordering his interment in a psychiatric hospital. Former leaving United States Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has stressed the importance of partnership in remarks to an audience of entrepreneurs and innovators at the State Department. President Joe Biden is set to play host to dozens of African leaders in Washington this week as the White House looks to narrow a gaping trust gap between Africa one that was grown wider over years of frustration about America's commitment to the continent.
Have a huge stake in the success of African innovators because when they're empowered to reach their full potential, it's good for the region, it's good for the continent, it's good for the world, it's good for America. The U.S. private sector already invests more than $4 in Africa for every dollar that our government allocates to the region in foreign assistance, and it wants to do more. That's the objective of our Office of Global Partnerships, which will take a U.S. private sector delegation to Ghana in February.
In the lead up to the three-day U.S.-Africa Leaders Summit that begins today, Biden administration officials played down their increasing concern about the clouds of China and Russia in Africa, which is home to more than 1.3 billion people. Instead, administration officials tried to put the focus on their efforts to improve cooperation with African leaders. The summit will be the biggest international gathering in Washington since before the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. Local officials are warning residents and intensified securities as 49 invited heads of state and leaders. In a related development, talks are expected to center on the coronavirus, climate change, and impacts of Russia's invasion of Ukraine on Africa, trade, and more, which Biden is set to deliver remarks at a U.S.-Africa Business Forum, which holds small group meetings with leaders, host a leaders' dinner at the White House, and take part in other sessions with leaders during the gathering. World Now at 4 continues. More on business. Thank you, Unlimited.